Would you pay your tenants to watch TikTok if it meant increasing just your real estate portfolio value? That's exactly what Gabe Barr is doing. He built a prop tech platform that lets renters earn actual cash toward their rent by doing things they're already doing online. Surveys, offers, video ads. It's called Gain from the BeBelong group, plugged into Yardi and rolling out across 270,000 units across this country. Owners, they love it. Real estate owners like you and me, we love it because it reduces turnover. Tenants love it because it pays their rent. Advertisers love it. Why? Because it gives them a targeted, engaged audience. But what does this mean for you as a real estate owner? More collections, more net operating income, more asset value. You don't need more units all the time. You need smarter ones. This is Gabe Barr, and you're listening to Real Estate Profit Boost. We're the show that shows you how to operate smarter, increase your NOI, and just increase the value of your portfolio in every way possible. So let's get started. All right, Gabe, so welcome to Real Estate Profit Boost. You're a rock star, and the funny story is I met I think, one of your investors, right? Out in front of Real Deal. That's how this whole thing started.
You met Ben, right?
Yeah. No, Ben, he's a good guy. I like him.
He's a
Him
great
and I
guy.
talked for about 15
it's a great
minutes.
story. Speaking of stories related to what we do. So I don't know if you've had the chance to listen to his story and his background. He was homeless at one time. So he just had, when he was a kid. So, I mean, he tells the stories like you're like, your tears are coming out.
Wow.
So,
And now he's a VC?
He's like a kind of regional manager in a sense.
But can play a strategic role in the growth of the company. Yeah. Right. So based on that, Gabe, right, you built this awesome prop tech company. It's got huge, but to start off the podcast, why don't you take us back, right? Take us back. Why did you do this, or what problem were you trying to solve when you formed BeBelong and had the idea, the aha moment?
I know, I get it. This is the essence of the story. And to be frank, it's really about not seeing a problem. I actually literally lived the problem. I was in the problem myself, and then seeing that there isn't anything there, why not just build it? So let me take you back a little bit, give you kind of set up the scene. I don't know, 7 years ago, I was running a very successful business. It was in e-commerce. We were an e-commerce aggregator, tech e-commerce. I was building data centers in e-commerce related to data and BI, and also machine learning piece of it. We were doing great. At one time, we were valued over $200 million. We were just about to go public.
Wow.
So, we thought that we crashed it, right? So lavish parties, you know how the high tech is when you have a pocket full of cash, then you can do whatever you want. So, and then
Silicon Valley.
And because we were on the intersection of commerce and private labels and are really the stores that we're running on Amazon, things have started changing and shifting for the worst because supply chain went up by 500, and then advertising went up as Amazon is trying to, milk the cow, get some more profit out of it.
Right.
The company started bleeding from a very profitable company to a very, very upside down company. Company started bleeding. We ended up putting our entire life saving back in the company, put over $10 million in there, trying to salvage as much as we can. And then we ended up bringing a venture debt to lend us another substantial amount of money. And one of the covenants said that if this will continue, we could end up losing the company. And that's exactly what happened. So all of a sudden, we find ourselves with a letter of, guys, you're fired, right? So I was fired out of my own company. And in the spot that I don't have any other source of income, that was the only source of income. My entire life saving went into that. And at this point, and I have to be very frank, I opened my checking account, and there was really literally nothing there. I would say a couple $100. And I have to
Right.
pay rent. I have to pay for school tuition. I have to figure out how do I, go and make some ends meet again.
Right. And
And
you were married, kids, the
I
whole
was
thing.
married, 2 kids. There was 16, there was like 14, and I have bigger kids as well, but they're luckily they were
Mhm.
living with me when they were not dependent, but I have 2 kids that were dependent on me, and everything collides. And at this
Black
point,
swan event.
I'm not going to go into the emotional part of it. And sometimes it does brings the emotional piece in me. But I can tell you that at this juncture, when you end up with, at the brick wall, you don't know. First of all, you don't know what you have until you, or what you don't have until you actually end up uh, looking looking to God right in the mirror.
Got
And
it.
that's really what happened. Really, I start really reconnected with God. That was really one of the things that got me up and running. And then had to really go through a lot of transitions, talking to my landlord, trying to reach a settlement, and trying to, and as long as they're not going to evict us, and then talk to my school. So we did everything that we can, even begged for money. We went to friends, and so asked for, give us, let us run through this guy. And luckily we had good friends that, and family that were around us that were supportive, but it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. But at
Yeah.
this point, when I was at that low level, I realized that really God has put me here on the face of the earth to do something which is much bigger. I didn't know it back then, but in retrospect, right? I look back, I can connect the dots, as Steve Jobs once said. You can only do it in retrospect. And I realized that there is something that I got to do, which is much bigger than just making money, which I was making great money back then, right?
Right. No, of course, I can see
I
it.
was,
Right.
I was just, I went into this very painful moment to understand that with my experience, 25 years of tech, and with my knowledge and my know-how and the God-given talent that I have, there's got to be a better way. And then when I started looking for it, there wasn't any.
There wasn't any.
There wasn't any. There was nothing out there, right? If I need to make some ends meet or make some extra cash, yes, I could go and find some places that maybe I will drive an Uber. One of the things that,
Right.
one of the offers that was there, drive an Uber. Obviously you can get some. It's not about getting, it's about what do I build to rectify and to be able to really make something that other people can benefit, not just me. Yeah, if I'm
Right.
driving Uber, I can maybe get 15 grand, maybe, I don't
Mhm.
know, maybe 10 grand, 20 grand. And this
Right.
thought really came to me throughout doing all that kind of stuff, going back to a W-2, maybe. There's a lot of things. And in my age, I just passed 58,
Got it.
just a
You're
couple
still a
days
young
ago.
guy. Right.
Yeah, a couple days ago.
Happy birthday. Right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so at this point where you're really saying, "Wow, this is God." I'm almost 60. I have my wife. I have my kids. I got to support. I'm not a provider right now at this point. This is a low point. I went into mild depression. It wasn't really. This is not something that one would love to be in that
No,
spot,
of course.
especially when you build something. You've been into that very high level, and then all of a sudden, zero.
The question, right.
Yeah.
No, is the company still exist today?
No, no. The
No.
company,
So even the, what I call in the world of real estate, I call them house pirates, the ones that come in and give money right at the end because they think there's a valuation, knowing
right,
that,
right,
right. So that's another lesson learned, is because I've been there, Gabe,
right.
like you, and most people that have been on this podcast, they've been there, right? But they're
Yeah.
back. So that's why we're here.
It's
But yeah,
it's very funny, but because when you're there, you think it's all about you, right?
right,
You're in this painful moment, and you just think that nobody else is experiencing what you experience. Later on, as you start stepping out and getting your life back in order, you start seeing that there's so many people out there, so many families that might not be as lucky as I was to rekindle or reclaim my fame, in a sense. And they're just stuck there, right? They're stuck. They're living paycheck between you. You know that as much as I
right.
do.
No,
Most
it's the
Americans are
masses,
living paycheck to paycheck, right?
right? I deal with it every day. I own a ton of
Yeah.
multifamily units, and I have to tell my property manager, don't listen to the stories, run it like a system. Because if you listen to the stories, you won't collect rent from 50 units because you hear it all the time, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? It's real. It's not, because they
It's
validate
real.
it.
It's
Yeah.
real. I see it every day. It's very real. And I just read an article that it's going to get worse. And people are defaulting on their credit cards, on their car leases. And this is really real. And as long
Right.
as interest rate is going to stay high, inflation is still kicking in. That's not going to change anytime soon. And if it does, even if it does, there's going to be one piece of the economy that might enjoy it, but the rest, the middle
The
level
masses.
income,
Yeah.
are not.
Right.
Their cost burden is there. Their rent and home payment, especially mortgages, are over 30% of their expense income ratio, right? Maybe in the 40-50%.
No,
This
I
is a
get it.
very risky situation for people to lose their home. And the first thing that one needs to remember is that having a roof over your head is not privilege. It's a necessity.
That's right.
Because it's when I was thinking about myself, when I almost lost my home, if I would be in that situation, you lose your dignity, you lose your entire livelihood. Is that
That's right.
I was talking to Ben, our stakeholder, by the way, and you mentioned him at the beginning. And listen, this is left such an he was a kid. I think it was 16 back then. It left such a lasting impact on him that the fact that they had to live outside, they live in a tent.
My God, right.
I mean, so think about the parents that haven't taken their kids and they're homeless right now.
Right.
So
no, and that's in several podcasts. I always mention that multifamily or housing is my favorite asset class of real estate, and this is exactly why, right? Because we can do self storage, we could do office, we could do all the other asset classes, Airbnb, whatever you want to call it, but you will always need a home, right? And because you need shelter, right? Rain, fire, hurricanes. Also, home is where the family unit is. That's the other issue. It's where faith starts. It's where all of it starts in the home. And from an investment point of view, it will always be the asset class of choice because of that demand, right? And you and I both know what's going on in the market and the shortage of how many units are available and so on. But folks, you're hearing it from somebody that his investor lived at a tent, and someone that took $10 million worth of savings all the way to the end and then was almost homeless. So that's, but now, the difference between Gabe and most people, myself included, because I've been there, I've lost everything, made some of my other podcasts, I made millions of dollars and lost it all in 6 weeks in the tech bubble. That was the first wipeout, broke that, everything. Is, and I believe in God, faith like that. It's like you have to go through something in order to get to here, to the next level, right? But the majority of people don't get there, Ben. So I had a coach one time from a program called Landmark and stuff, and she always used to call me the one. And I go, what is the one? Right? Because it's a language distinction. She kept saying that you're the 1%. You're the 1% of people that go to Tony Robbins seminars, actually leave and do something, right? Or I go to temple or I go to church, right? And I actually leave with something and I do something. And, otherwise, those people, they just keep going to church. They don't do anything. They keep going to the shul. They keep going to Tony Robbins 4 years in a row. So that's what I've learned is the difference. But we've all been through the excruciating pain to get there. So
I know. I'm with you on that. And by the way, some of the reason that you just mentioned was the way we've built our prop tech, the way we've built our tech suite was the result of knowing the psychology behind the decision-making process, right? The initiative, right? Why, if one would not take the initiative, right? It's the execution piece that is missing, right? I know what to do. By the way, when you're in this low-level mindset, you know what to do, but it's hard to get out of bed because it's better to feel sorry for yourself, right? To be in that sorrow or to say, it's probably not going to be, I'm not going to be successful in doing that. It's probably not going to make
Right.
it.
I'm gonna
Right.
pick
So
up a beer or the bottle.
let me turn on Netflix. For me, we don't have TVs in our home. We do for the kids. We don't have TV, we don't watch TV because and we might be deviating, going to a different topic altogether.
No,
But
you're right. But it's the distraction. It's the
it's about
escapism.
really. But if you look at it, I'm just gonna paint a picture here. Just set the scene again. When we built Rent Gain, the decision, and we were confronted several times, the decision to tell the tenant, here you go. These are the offers. Go do it. Right? Go make some more money. Go earn some additional supplemental income. There's another source of revenue because everybody has one source of revenue, like I did. Right? But we're not going to give you the money. We're going to send it directly to the landlord. We're going to send it directly to the property owner.
Love it.
Because we do not want you to mess around with the one thing that is the most important piece, which is the four walls and the ceiling. Having the roof over your head is a necessity. It's the same thing as having a loaf of bread in your fridge and some butter.
Right. No, I get it.
It falls on the same category. So we said, we're not going to send you the money. Your credit is going to go straight to your landlord. And if the landlord is not taking that, if your landlord is not signing up, you won't be able to use it. And people have came to us and said, so why don't you give them the money? I said, if they want money for another cup of coffee, they want money to spend it or whatever. And I'm not going into abuses. If you wanted to spend it on whatever they want, there are plenty of options out there for them to make some money, extra cash. By the way, they don't need us to fill up a survey. You just go Google, I want to fill up surveys. You're going to have 5 different websites or maybe 100 websites that offers surveys for money. You can do it right now, and you might get a $25 gift card from Amazon or whatever. Right. I get emails daily from different offers saying, we want to get your opinion because you're C-level. We want to get your opinion. I'm going to send you a $25 gift card. Right. Who does that?
I mean, listen, nobody. Well, not everybody, but some people do. But that's why you bring up a good point. So, like when I just sat here, I had a little aha moment listening to you. And for most of you, you're going to find out what Rent Gain and BeBelong does. Basically, he creates an income stream and pays their rent, and he's created a win-win situation for landlords and tenants.
Right.
But a little aha moment that I heard from your story is, number one, it's. You know how many times I've sat in urban leagues and nonprofits, Howard House, Dade County, about homelessness, right? What's the solution for homelessness, right? And raise money, place them in homes, none of it works, right? Because it's always a nonprofit. You've got to give money, then they support it. They don't have to get motivated. Number one, I heard like a small cure for homelessness, right? Which to me, I was like, okay, now I get it. I get Gabe's passion about it. It bridges it. But what I also heard, which was interesting and which is sad too, is that you and I know that the masses, right? And we're not trying to put down the masses here. They're the ones that are swiping on TikTok. They're the ones that are swiping on Instagram. They're the ones that are scared to death of the media, of the hurricane. They don't know if they should listen to Trump or Obama, or if they're listening to Snoop Dogg or this. They're so influenced, but it's the truth, right? Yes. And then the next thing you know, you get a credit card offer and you're in $40,000 in debt at 26%, right? So to some degree, you're creating a structure where they can't get lost in a distraction and still have their home.
Love it. I love it. I think it's a great. I couldn't put it better myself. This is exactly what it is.
Right. And because by not giving them the choices keeps them in their home.
Exactly.
That's the serious. Just like when your kid goes to school, you got to go from 9 to 5. You got to go. They don't have a choice. They got to go. The structure works, and they come out success.
Right. And we also, we tell the tenants, basically, if you are a good, worthy consumer, an educated consumer, you can earn your rent. It's an entirely. Our ranking system is designed to make sure that you are incentivized as a tenant, but also making sure that the advertisers that are paying for these ad space are getting their money worth, right? So if you look at this, is exactly what it is. It's trying to trying to take an unstructured market, speaking from a data set, right? So from a data perspective, so you have an unstructured data set and you want to bring it into and make it a structured data set and then use AI for that. So we've done basically that, just put it in there in the layman terms. We just created a marketplace. We think about, take the easiest way to explain this is you take Airbnb, right? When Airbnb went to market, they needed the travelers and they needed the apartments, they needed the buildings, they needed the people like me or anyone that owns real estate for short-term rental.
Inventory.
Inventory. If they didn't have that, that will not work. If that didn't have, so it's the same. So this is the marketplace that we've created. On one end, you have the tenants that are benefiting from that. On the other end, you have the advertisers that we have given them the Holy Grail. I'm in the middle of a podcast. So we've given them the Holy Grail, correct? So in a sense, they know who they are, not in sense, not names and so, but they know where they live because we have a locality. We have their actual address. We know what they like because our AI build a customized profile for them.
Right. Because
we know what they like, what they dislike. They have kids. They don't have kids, what the family status is. And we ask them a lot of questions. We don't go into financials. We don't care about if their credit rating is 650 or 700. We assume that if you pay your rent, you're already above the 650, most likely. Okay. Because Section 8 and others will not be, landlords will not be able to get money from us. So it's kind of, it puts, even the one in low income are capable of using it. So
but if they get income, they lose their voucher for the Section 8 side.
Exactly.
Until they maybe use you as a subsidy.
So these are the same consumers that the advertisers are running after using Meta and Google. And all they do is put another zero in Mark's account, put another zero in Google account, which is great. Don't get me wrong. We all done that. When I was in the e-commerce space, we spent millions of dollars on advertising, but nobody came to me and says, you know what? This is the story. You're going to spend $1 million on ad, but we are going to give some to renters. We're going to split with them. And the moment we split with them, something very odd happens. They become loyal. They are very loyal to your brand. Because you're helping them pay your rent.
No, of course. Why? Right? Listen, it's a huge thing. Like I own and operate, a lot of units. So to me, to create it and so on. But what's interesting for you, what do you think gave you the edge to create this? Because I think the audience is starting to see what this is. But was it your tech background? Was it your economics? Or was it your pain, right?
I think it's a mix of all three, because if I wasn't living the pain, I don't know if I would pay attention to that space at all. And understanding that I was relying on one source of income, and there's got to be, if you really want to have a good life, but I'm just talking about, the basic necessity at this point. So that was the first thing. My tech background, 25 years of tech backgrounds really put me into a spot where I know what needs to be built from a tech perspective. What is the type of tech that needs to be put together?
Got it.
And obviously the fact that I've realized that this is a much bigger problem than I have ever imagined. And so I would say all three came together, and you'd be surprised. We actually started BeBelong first. BeBelong is
that was my next question. Break us down on the BeBelong and the RentGate platforms. What do they do? What's the tenant journey kind of thing? Give us so people clearly understand the problem that you're solving and how.
Sure. All right. So BeBelong is a real social, in real life social app. What it means basically is that you have the same thing as Instagram, but instead of having Instagram with friends that you have never seen, you just know that they follow you and you just give you a thumbs up. And then you might be chatting with them once in a while, right? Which is great. In real life app, it's a concept is that you use in community setting, right? So multifamily is a community setting. So we've taken that concept and built a social app for multifamily, right? People call it resident engagement. It doesn't matter. What it means, it increased the desireness of connecting with other tenants at the same exclusive place. So our app goes in, people download that and start using that as their own social app for their own community, right? Just for the building. No one else can come in. No one else can see what is posted, what was, what is said. Only you and the property managers, basically. Even that, to a certain degree, is limited. So if I'm a tenant, I can go in a marketplace and say, hey, you know what? I'm traveling for a couple of days. I have a dog. I need a dog sitter. Is anyone in the building? I'm asking if anybody. Or I need a babysitter. Or I have a kid that would like to have a play date. Instead of trying to schedule for someone from school that they may be leaving far away, let's do it in the building. And other stuff like
the pool or whatever. Or I get it.
Like even set up.
People are moving out, furniture.
Furniture. Right. So I can sell, I can rent, I can do whatever I want. And this is my ecosystem that I so desire. The reason why we built it, this was a study. Obviously, what we've experienced was also in isolation. We were really in isolation at that point.
Right.
There was a study made that I think it was done by Harvard, if I'm not mistaken, that said that if you have 5 people that you are connected with, you have about 50% chance of increasing your lease renewal. 50% chance, 50%. So if you look at the turnover rate, the national turnover rate is about 40%. I don't know how much is in your building, but it's about 40% between Core Plus and C Plus and D. Right, 40% move out.
Nationally, I think Florida is higher, but nationally, I agree with you.
Nationally, is about 40%. Right. So when you think about it, the move out there is a cost, a very high cost,
huge expense to your NOI.
Right, we actually measured that. We asked many property owners, and they're somewhere around between $4,000 to $8,000 for everyone that moves. So let's say you have 100 units. And it's a $4,000. So do the math.
That's it.
Right? That's it. Do the math. 40%. Every year, that goes 100%. Straight to your NOI. So if I'm telling you that because people use tech for connectivity base, now they're able to reduce that by 50%. So instead of 40 units moving out, only 20 are going to move out. That is a huge impact on your NOI.
No, it's huge. We talk about that on Real Estate Profit Boost all the time, right? So for us, we always say the biggest expenses, and a lot of these operators, right, they're underwriting this or writing vacancy operations. So in my insurance business and what is behind it, taxes and insurance in Florida are the largest killers of NOI. We're able to reduce insurance by 80%. NOI. People are in shock, right? Where they think it's a line item. But really, when you get to be a big operator, your turnover, right, is just as high as a cost. That balances between 1 and 3, those 3. So 100%. And a lot of people don't think about that, right? The turnover, because I'm at 100% occupancy, but 4,000 to 8,000 on a turnover, it affects it. And by the way, one other thing I'll mention is I met a woman named Christina Comerford, right? She wrote a book called Smart Tribes, and she's out of LA. She dated Bill Gates in college, believe it or not. And she was a speaker, and it was a nonprofit. So she was the speaker. I got to pick her up at the airport, but the book talks about that humans are motivated by 3 things, right? Number 1, safety, which is housing, right? Number 2, belonging, right? That's the belonging. And she explained that the social media phenomenon would have happened before it happened, because this was 15 years ago, right? It gives belonging in a world that's going to cocooning, meaning people will stay home, crime rates are higher, internet, TV, right? Things like that. And the last one is mattering, right? Mattering is me, right? I want to matter. I want people to learn from me, right? But it's interesting. So it's absolutely correct when they create those communities.
It's exactly that. By the way, one of our saying is that we are in the business of tenants, that tenants matter, right? So they actually matter because you know what? It's business 101. You take care of your customer, the customer's going to take care of you. Right. So that's the business we're in. We are in the business to make sure that people matter.
Let me show you this. This is it just happens to be right here. This is our core value at Premier. Create win-win solutions. Right. Yeah. Right? I think there's a guy named Hashem who says the same thing.
Yes, right? He does. One of them, yeah.
Right. Okay. So continue with so it creates the community.
Yeah, so it creates the
platform.
community,
Right.
and
Like
it
I'm
provides
going out of town, and
yeah.
believe it or not, I got my cleaning lady from my neighbor, right? And she's watching my dog, but I had to go knock on the door because I
Here
saw
we
the
go,
cleaning
and
lady.
that will prevent it, right? That will prevent that,
Right.
and when you look at that, so when you give that tech solution to your tenants, you're basically saying to them, "You guys matter. We care
Right.
for you." Because in most cases, even with other apps out there, some of them do use it, some they don't. And the reason you ask them, why is this not being used? Why are you not pushing it to your tenants and getting them up and running? You know what is the answer that I get? On the sideline, it creates more work to the leasing agents and to the property management. We don't want to pay overtime. So this is the answer that I'm getting. I'm saying this is crazy.
Right. Short-term vision.
Yeah, exactly. And then integrating a new tech. So you know what? We have solved that. We went ahead and integrated with Yardi, so you guys don't have to worry about the integration piece. We've already done that. You guys have to press play. Yes, we won't be belonging in our building, and we'll do the rest of the work. And the best part, that rent gain is embedded already in BeBelong. So tenants can go in, play, and do whatever they want with the community. And then, I need some extra cash for my rent. Let me go into rent gain. It's right there and there. There
you go. Right. So it's already installed, ready to go, and it's just boom. They just got to push it out and so on.
Right.
Okay. So keep going. Take us on the journey. So in a perfect world, when they sign the lease, they're put out on Yardi. They're put out on. I'm sure you're going to go to Appfolio next and all the big ones.
Appfolio and RealPage.
Yeah, and RealPage.
Yeah, I mean, when they sign the lease, all they have to do is basically sign on to rent gain. We already have if we work with a property manager, we already have their entire baseline. So the new lease is going to show up on our system. You're going to download BeBelong, and it's going to basically stop being part of the community. By the way, the one is doing it internally is Flow. Adam Newman is doing the same thing, right? The concept of creating something, creative value out of community. It does it in a very special way, but that's a different story. So we've just taken that concept and broadened that. However, I will say that rent gain is not dependent on BeBelong, and BeBelong is not dependent on rent gain. Rent gain is also a standalone product. So if you rent a condo, which is not part of a community, you're not multifamily property, you can download rent gain and start using it, start earning credits towards your rent, right? And
explain that process so they understand it.
It's very simple. You go to the App Store, you go to Google Play, you download rent gain, right? You sign up. The moment you sign up, you're going to be introduced to Alice. Alice is our AI rent coach. Alice is going to take you through is going to ask you about some questions, going to take you through the process, your journey of becoming and knowing what you need to do in order to pay your rent. So it's like a roadmap. So Alice is going to build a roadmap for you. So towards the end, Alice is going to show you the entire roadmap for your entire month, how to pay your rent.
Got it.
And every day, what's going to happen? Alice is going to pop up. It's going, all right, this is your itemized list. You're going to watch 5 videos today. You're going to fill up 2 surveys. You're going to maybe do some online shopping, get cash back, and do some referrals and all that. Whatever, this is the list for you today. So you don't have to think, right? You've eliminated, what should I do next? It's right there in your fingertip, in the palm of your hand. Just go ahead and do it, right? Watch the commercials, engage, right? And then when you do that, money goes back. You're going to see that. We actually added the cha-ching, the noise, right? It's like in the casino. Go straight to your wallet. You open your wallet and says, okay, this is my goal. I wanted to make $1,000 and I've earned $100. Right now it's sitting in my wallet, right? Every day. And as long as I'm engaging and I'm doing what I need to do and what I've been offered to do, at the end of the month, the wallet opens up. And you say, okay, pay my rent. And that money goes straight to your landlord, straight to your property manager.
And they don't have a choice. They can't spend it on Amazon.
I mean, you can keep it there and not pay the rent. Not pay the rent, but it's not going to go anywhere. It's just going to be there.
So it's locked into that property.
Locked in for rent only, right?
And so it's not transferable, I'm assuming.
It's not transferable.
Right. That's better for the landlord.
You can, however, have 4 people in your household that are using the same rentable.
That I like. Right.
Yeah. So let's say
Okay.
I want to have my wife, I want to have my 18-year-old kid that lives with me also join. So instead of making $500, I might be able to make maybe $1,200 because I have 4 people, but it's contributing to the same rent. Okay, so everybody has could have some actions. The reason why we want 18 years and higher because we are looking for consumers, right? The advertisers are seeking consumers, and we want to give them the consumers. Our AI is going to customize the offer based on the age, based on, like I said, the
So
status.
you'll get a notification. So say the whole family's using this app, right?
Right.
Everybody's got a profile, everybody's this.
Right.
And what happens? You get a notification that says, hey, Domino's Pizza's looking for a survey in your neighborhood, like something like this.
Well, I mean, it's not a notification. You open the app and the offers are right there and there, right? So,
Got it.
mean, you'll get a notification that, yes, you have a list of items waiting for you to complete. Okay. So you go in and you start running it. Whether it's going to be one notification or not, we can add it. It's not a big deal, but we find out people are annoyed by too much. They already have so much noise on social media. You have the red dots and you have the push notification and all that. So we want to make it, we want to streamline to make sure that people enjoy it. I often say to people I work with, just, make it fun. We gamify the entire, make it fun.
Gamify.
Let
No,
people,
100%.
if they watch a commercial, let them enjoy it. Right. So don't make it too long. Make it short enough that they can actually have fun in watching it and then actually make sense for them to complete it. Because if they don't complete, they don't get paid. So make sure that they do get paid for that and give them, incentivize them to take an action post the ad. Or if they fill up a survey, don't make a survey.
No, I love it. That's the gamify piece, right? It's like to watch my kids. They can't put the phone down, right? Because they need to get to the next level. And then when they get to the next level, they get hit with some dopamine and they get to this and then they get to this award. So it's they're enjoying it, right? And then they learn the shortcuts, right? So if you gamify, that's great. So question, so if I was the tenant and I open up the app and you got the whole family there, obviously based on the advertising that you're bringing in, is it an endless amount that you could just keep? No. Okay.
No. It's a very
good
good
point. But it depends on your advertisers, right? You may all of a sudden find somebody.
It limits, it's capped at your rent level. So if your rent is 1,000, you're not going to be able to make more than 1,000, right?
Understood.
So, and if your rating is high, you might be able to get the full 1,000 because you need to build your credit rating in a sense with the advertisers, right? Our algorithm is based on engagement. The more you engage, the more the advertisers will see a higher ROI, right? It's their ROI. They want to see that they're spending money and they're getting a return out of it, right?
So if you're a tenant right now and you want to test this out, right, and see what this app looks like and everything, and maybe even convince your landlord to use it, right? Because if it comes from the tenant base, where could they test this out? Where would they go right now?
They can go on like I said, the App Store. They can go on Google Play, download Rent Gain, 2 words, Rent Gain, download it. They, like I said, they will be introduced by the Alice and they will take them through the process. We will open the option for credit. At the beginning, they can just play with it, right? They can play with it with some demo stuff that they can do, watch some ads, fill up some survey just to see how it's working out for them. And when we have a full KYC, because it's a compliance issue, they have to fill up a KYC, know your customer base, and then we send. They have to provide us with a landlord info. Solicit the landlords. We go to the landlord says, okay, this is what it is. Your tenants want to use it. Sign up, and the landlord's going to go through a KYB. Only when this process is complete. Only then we open up the real live action, right? So the real option to. So it depends on these two variables that are in. But in most cases, if the landlord is convinced and the tenant is convinced, it could be very, very quickly that we can get them up.
Right. When do you expect full launch on Rent Gain, that piece?
That's, I believe, first quarter of 26. Right now we have, we're getting it out there, making sure that people understand. For instance, people reach out to me on LinkedIn. Just got a message yesterday. I download Rent Gain. I need to know how it works.
So maybe you're going to be accelerating this whole process, right?
It definitely might.
Okay, so now I think I get the concept on the Rent Gain, right? Now, and the tell us how the landlord directly benefits and what platform,
Great,
and is it
great question.
BeBelong? Yeah, or versus rent? Okay, go ahead.
All right, great question. We have made a decision. We want to make sure that everybody wins. So the renters wins. Obviously, you get some additional sources of income, supplemental income, right?
Right, of
The
course.
advertisers win because they have a very unique and customized and captive audience in their homes where they make a decision. And we decided to carve out 15%, 1/5 of our net ad spend and send it directly to the landlord. So let's say we helped you with your retention. We'll help you with getting rent paid on time. We incentivize the tenants. But now we're also going to give you some money because we want you to be happy and keeping the tenants happy and making sure they matter. So we're going to give you 15% of our net ad spend, splitting the money with you because you've provided the hubs.
So you're contributing to the landlord 15% of the BeBelong ad spend, or
the net ad spend after we've paid the rent, after we paid the tenant, then whatever's left. So it's basically from our share.
Got it.
What is left to us, we're giving them 15%.
Right, because the revenue model is advertising at the end of the day, right? So it's above. So you came up with a metric that could easily pay the landlord and create a win-win, but yet still you need a profitable company to keep going, and you still got to pay the advertiser's got to get it. So listen, as an entrepreneur, I understand models, right? Or compensation structures or this. And if you don't nail it and you don't project it out to a scalable company, that's when I get it. So they're getting 15%. So let's say an average person is on, Rent Gain, and they made $1,000 to pay their rent, and the rent is $1,500. What would the landlord expect per unit? That's what they're going to ask.
Let's talk about algorithm, all right? But not talk about the ones and zeros, just to understand the overall concept, right? So let's assume you're a renter and you're not a beginner, you're not a newbie, you're up in the 50% bracket, okay? So when advertisers come in, they will say, I want to pay $1 per video. So people will watch, I'm going to bank $1, all right? Our algorithm, based on your ranking, and let's say your ranking is 50%, is going to credit you only 50 cents, okay? Because you are at a certain level, a certain ranking, at a certain bracket where you contribute to the advertisers, but not as much. The more you contribute, your ranking goes up. So let's say we split 50-50 at this point, just to make it simple. So if it is $1 paid, that means you got 50 cents, we have 50 cents, okay? Let's put it in numbers. Let's say it's a $10,000 advertising. So the company will keep $5,000 and will pay $5,000. Out of the $5,000 left, 15% will go to you. $750 will go to the landlord. Okay, and this is per month. Let's look at you have a 500 unit building at a 5 cap. It's in Florida, so it's a 5 cap. So let's assume that your average rent is $2,000 because these are A properties. These are core plus, and we're paying them $1,000. That means that the advertisers will pay $1,000 to us, $1,000 to us, $1,000 to you. Percent, that's $150 per unit. Right? Got it. $150 per unit times 12, right? That's $1,800 right there and then. Now multiply that by $500. We are talking about creating value all the way from 10 to $20 million in value because we've just given you access
it's huge.
to your end. It's big.
Right, because when we do the math on insurance, it's very simple, right? So this is our core lines here, right? Because so the landlords understand. Let's say you have 100 units. What he's saying, $50, right, per unit, okay, times 100 units is $15,000 a month in extra NOI, which is huge. Times that by 12 is, I don't know, off the top of my head, about $175,000 in NOI. That's how big that is, okay? And for every $100,000 of NOI increase at a 5 cap, I've done the math.
$2 million.
It's like close to, I was going to say 1.8 and change $1 million in property value. And by the way, the other side is if you're getting a refinance or a cash out, okay, at a 30-year mortgage, 6%, it's about $1.1 million per $100,000 dollars of NOI increase.
There you go. You did the math.
Right. And here's what I've always said, right? You don't have to buy more real estate to increase your property value by $10 million. What you need is Focus on your NOI, focus on the operator, create technology, create something that creates that win-win and so on. So now you guys, you get what real estate profit boost is all about. It's in my word. And why, when I met Gabe and the guys at the Real Deal, I'm like, my God, right? I didn't know about the whole homeless thing till today, but it makes so much sense that technology, AI is able to do this when you have a visionary like Gabe behind it who can actually execute it, right? So I mean, listen, back in the day, what did we used to do? Put cell phone towers on buildings, right? And they pay us $5,000.
They still do.
They still do, right? And there's all these little plays, right? We've had Utility Ranger on here where it's RUBS, it's ratio utility billing systems on small properties, 8 units, 10 units, 6 units, right? Because they don't do it on those types of units, right? $71 a month, by the way, is her average of the NOI if you can bill them in utilities. And by the way she got 10,000 units on is as a conservation approach. Stop wasting water, right? Because now they got to pay the bill. So it's when you create that community that's interesting.
Yeah,
so
I mean, you have to look at the sense of economics, right? You are measuring each units by the units of economics, right? Each one of them. So what is it to bring in rent? What is the added income that you can put in directly into your NOI? And what are the operational efficiency? So we're not dealing with the operational efficiency. There's a lot of companies out there that do a great job on operational efficiency. We are saying we care for the tenants. You definitely care for the tenants because you want to give them that piece of tech for them to earn more. You benefit because we're going to give you money to increase your NOI. And it doesn't matter whether it's $150 or $75 or $50 per unit a month. It doesn't matter because it depends completely on what the tenants will make. So it's going to be $50 a month, still a lot of money and a lot of going straight to NOI. And that is before we do the indirect cost efficiency by helping you reduce your turnover.
Right.
Your churn rate is going down.
You are in operations. You're increasing retention. Right? With them doing nothing. And by the way, folks, we already discussed this. If you can increase your retention by 30%, right, on 100 units, right? Think about it, 4 to 8K per unit. So it's this kind of thing. And that's retention, belonging, staying longer, all of these kind of things. And it's impressive because real operators that go through hell, lose their ass, like us, we get that the details matter. Right? Because it's when you're in your first business venture or your first couple, right? It's very rare that you hit it out of the park on your first time, and most people fail their first time. It's because of those operating levers, right? We didn't see this, but it's those little killers. I call it the art of the war, right? If you go on the playing field your first time, you have so much confidence sometimes you think you can achieve, but in the art of war, you learn to understand the players, the chess pieces, what's in it for them, what's in it for that. If plan A happens, plan B happens. And the true art of war, I learned in my late 40s and 50s, is I need to cover every variable that could possibly exist, right? As possible, and then come up with 10 that can't, right? That we got to see down the future. And that's what I teach here at my office. So if you're losing the battle, it's because you didn't spend the time, right? So the reason I'm mentioning this is I like the way that you're rolling out, right? Meaning I've being an EO, I mentored tech startups back in Sequoia and Y Combinator. What a waste of time, right? Because they were all trying to go scale nationally, prove revenue models. Tell us how you're rolling out, because I think it's extremely smart, strategic, and conservatives, right? And how you got to 270,000 units already in agreements and these things. Go ahead.
The 270, just to set the record straight, the 270,000 units are in the pipeline. And we were talking to other operators as well to make sure that this is being rolled out conservatively and in very mature way people can actually relate to, because it's about adoption. It's about being able to really utilize it to the utmost extreme and get the real benefit. Otherwise, it's just another noise, right? So even if people do sign up, and like I said, people can download it right now, and start using it. Even BeBelong is on the App Store. People can download tomorrow and start using it. We will not give the access until we are 100% sure that we have all three dots are connected. One, property managers, landlord, property managers, the tenants, and the advertisers. Right? They all have to fit into this ecosystem in a closed loop so we can support it. If it's not done, we will not provide the keys. Right? You can download it, but it's just going to be a dummy.
Right.
And that's how we roll it out in a more mature way instead of just scale. Yeah, blitz scaling is great, which I most likely
I read the book.
We might do. Yeah, you read the book. I read the book. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I have it at home. I think it's great. So yeah,
you want to build a rocket ship? You can be working 100 hours a week changing the rocket ship wings every 2 days. But go ahead.
But you gotta do it. It's not about taking the market leadership, which I think we do have, but it doesn't really matter. It's about being able to help the renters, really making sure the people that really matter, either getting their money worth, and this will create it will create a virality effect anyway. Because if I'm giving you money, you will tell your friends, and your friends going to tell their friends, and this is how it's going to go. It's not that difficult to really replicate as long as this works.
So when I get that 100%, right? Because you got to be prepared. Because when the rocket ship launches, get ready. I've been there, right? And if the wings aren't on, it can crash and burn very quickly. So, or you got to build super fast on the way up. So, is the plan to roll out one property management company at a time or one community at a time? And so advertisers are lining up right now. Then you're going to get the user base, which is the landlords, right? Those and then launch 1,000 units at a time, 500 units at a time.
We might launch faster. At this point, we're lining up the advertisers, and it's totally dependent on the amount of ad spend that we're bringing in, right? So if we're able to secure 10, 20, $100 million of ad spend, we have the user base, right? The user base is right there and then. For us, it's very easy to bring the user base in. So we are 100%, not 100%, but 80% of our time is now focused on making sure that the advertisers are getting the money worth and more advertisers are lining up and people are ready to get the right consumers in their path and they have a budget to spend, right? So that's really what we do. Again, like I said, everybody that wants to have his rent paid is going to be a user, and it's easy, in a sense, easy to get them on. So that is really where we are focusing right now. So I can't give you a complete straight answer of when you're going to roll it out and launch it in a mass scale, but it could happen probably towards the end, towards the 26, could be third quarter of 26. We might be at that spot where we roll it out.
Right. Which is very quick, by the way. We're in December of 2025, right?
Yeah, we've built it for the last 3 years, so
right. But it sounds like the tech is there, the relationships are building, the names are coming in, the advertisers are coming in, and it's kind of amazing. You know what I mean? That entrepreneurship, and I always steer away a little bit from real estate, right? That we solved our own problems, right? It's the same with me. My story is I lost everything on New York, Wall Street, broke, whatever, all that tech bubble. I learned about all that. And I moved to Miami and I had a couple hundred units and I started building investors, syndicators, this. And the same thing happened to me is my insurance went from 100 to 300 after the back of Katrina and Wilma. And I said, how am I going to operate in an environment like this, right? And in the beginning, I lost some of those properties because if my insurance goes double, and my bank is requiring this and the DSCR, there's no one there to help me, right? And they take the property. They take my business and my equity. So I said, how am I going to operate this? So I solved the problem for me, right, today. And that's exactly why we have a scalable world of insurance. But the coolest thing is by launching Real Estate Profit Boost, I focus all on NOI operators, right? And this is probably one of the best ones that I think it's a extremely large scalable issue, right? That you're tackling, right? Where, okay, we're doing utility billing. I get that, right? But to take down by paying their rent, right? And That's huge. I mean, it's
big.
meaningful, right? Listen,
Yeah.
we got 140 units in Broward, right? And my property managers, people they don't pay the rent, right? We don't want to kick them out. You know what we do? We have a list of 25 services, like children's family services, the church that will pay their rent, the 2 months. That's the first thing we did, right? And even during the pandemic, we were prepared, meaning there was a couple organizations that were paying rent. We went and filled out their applications because they're not going to do it. That's what I learned, right? So my property manager going door to door to door, full applications for subsidies for 3 months, 2 months, getting them signed. But it's that extra push, that extra creativity that makes the difference, right? Otherwise, and we got paid the rent. Otherwise, we had issues.
So you basically are you're amplifying exactly what you're doing. You just did it yourself because you don't want to put people on the street. You know it's going to cost you more to replace them and even to get them out. There's going to be a cost associated with that, let alone the emotional stress associated with that.
Right.
You went ahead and you said, okay, alternatively, I will go and find subsidies for those renters that you come and do that and get some extra cash and I will get paid, right? So what is the worst? You've already made that decision consciously to help yourself out as a business owner. As an entrepreneur, you have already seen that there is a resolution. So the tenants are not going to do it, most likely not going to do it. They're just going to lay there, watch another series on Netflix if they have Netflix, or do whatever streaming TV. I don't know what is it.
No, listen, it's the sad truth. That's why I have my Instagram channel. If you watch my Instagram, I'm like, you want to know why you're stuck? Because you're doing this and this and that and that. Yeah. You'll watch Instagram before you'll go to the gym, right? I don't know what it is, but it's strange, right? That like you're the one. That's what we call each other. We as entrepreneurs, my biggest takeaway is we surround ourselves with people like us, right? You and I are together on the podcast. We meet in the same circles because we're running executing. Right. All the time, building, changing people's lives, giving back, all that. But when you last night I had dinner at a friend of mine's house. He's a very wealthy guy. He's in the event space and concerts. So if I threw the names out, you're like, oh my God, he owns those concerts, those shows. Like he sits down and he goes, I want you to come to dinner. I go, why? So I go to his house for dinner and I brought my estate attorney with me. And he's like, just bring them all. Why? Guy makes $5 million a year, right? And pays 42% taxes. And I'm looking at him and I go, what do you go? He goes, I don't know. I've been doing this forever. And I'm looking at him like, how do you pay taxes like that? Because he's in the event space, right? He's in huge concerts and events like ultra, like big ones, right? He's never had someone sit down with him and explain tax strategy. And he relies on a financial advisor that works on greed at brokers. He relies on he doesn't understand appreciation. He doesn't know I have to buy real estate assets. He doesn't understand what debt does in the structures. And I'm like, my God, I thought everybody knows this. And this is at that level, right?
They don't.
They don't know it. And then that's why I launched the podcast. Or when I sit and I say something like that, I go to a college university. My son goes to FSU and I say, hey, I want to have a talk on 5 buckets of success, right? And I thought everybody understands this. And you have such an aha moment that, my God, like what we went through in our lives, the pain, the experience, the execution is just like so much impact that we are able to give, right? And that's what I see. So like, I'll ask you, like, if every multifamily owner in America adopted Rent Gain tomorrow, right? What would the impact be, audience?
It's amazing. It's an incredible
Not for their portfolio values.
No. I mean, I know what you're saying. I know.
Right. But on their tenants' lives and both, right? But go ahead.
It's a great question. Although you cannot disassociate yourself from the benefits that the operators
100%.
might get out of it. One of my concerns, I'll be very frank, I'll share with you. One of my concerns is that once we are able to alleviate some of the stress and some of the supplemental incomes for the tenants, what
they're going to get lazy.
Something that could happen is that landlords are, there's additional income coming in. Let's raise rent. Let's raise rent.
Increase the rents. Understood.
So this is something that I'm struggling with I'm
Very
saying
smart, Gabe.
we came with an idea to help the renters, and there might be some disadvantage, or someone's going to take advantage of that. So I'm
No, you're
hoping,
absolutely right.
I'm hoping that, that will not create that momentum, but one can say I have no way to control it.
No,
But
listen, that's
my hand,
exactly what happened. Good, very smart, right? And to think that through, because it's plain and simple. It's like printing money, right? Or it's a
right.
subsidy, right? And as soon as you do that, when you printed money during the pandemic, here in Florida, my rents went from $1,300 to $1,700 overnight. Why? Because you flooded my tenants with money. There's only so much supply. People were moving, right? So of course, it's the old pieces of pizza, right?
Right.
And so on. So you're right. That's how capitalism works,
It
right?
is.
They
It
look
is. But
right.
I have no way to control that. I have no
No, you
intention
don't.
of controlling it. I'm just
No. So, but it
voicing an
create.
opinion here.
And if you tried in my opinion, right, is if you try to control that too much, then it backfires. So somewhere
It
there's a
will backfire
balance,
for sure.
right? And like your
Yeah.
15%, right, of your numbers is probably a good place.
Yes.
There's always
And
the
that
good
is the
landlord.
reason why we're
Yeah.
doing it, by the way. This is one of the reasons if you want to
You know
be
that you
greedy,
can
you'll
solve the
be.
huge problem in New York City? Like, you
Yeah.
know what's
Oh my
going on
God.
up there?
We're
It's all
getting calls.
subsidized rents. Right. And he's going
We're
to cap
getting
rent
calls from New
control.
York on a daily basis.
Wait, think about that. That just hit
Yeah.
me right now. Now, all these socialist blue cities, whatever you want to call them, right? They're going to go into rent control states. Which doesn't work. You know what it does is a landlord for
Right.
like you and me. You think I'm going to fix your roof if I can't raise your rent? Where's the money coming from? Right?
Right.
Like, they don't get it. It doesn't work. The government's not handing me $100,000 for a new roof. So the point is, it doesn't work. But now look, this can work. Right now, the landlord has an incentive. It's going to be. Is there any
Right.
competitors? Anything out there that's?
No, I mean,
I haven't heard anything. First time, and I'm all over real estate.
in our way, there isn't anyone out there that is doing what we're doing. There is Built, which I think they're great as as a reward system, as a financial system, but we're not really
Right.
head to head with Built because they can still use Built and use ours. We're supplementing, we're adding on. We're
Right.
not rewarding. We're not taking the level of payments mechanism out of their hands. So, in a sense, Belt is
Got
the
it.
only one that might be close to that. I would say this, and this is something to wrap it up. Most important is to understand that the money, we're not a government agency, right? So
No,
we're
of
not,
course not.
the money that is coming in as a source of income comes as a result of targeting consumer base, right?
Right.
So the assumption is that if I pay rent, I am a consumer because I'm the same consumer that's going to be on Meta and Google buying stuff on Amazon, buying stuff on Target, or I'm doing it, right? So whether it's a low income, or other, or I'm an affluent paying 3 or 4 or 5
Right.
grand a rent, right? I'm a consumer. So I'm buying because if I'm paying 30-40% of my income towards rent, the remaining is that supplemental income, or this is the disposable income that goes towards consumers. So advertisers will come when they see that there is a reciprocation, that the renters are actually engaging. And that's why we made it so
Right.
clear. You do not get paid
huge
unless you
social.
engage.
Just the message is a huge social impact, right? And obviously, well, not the people should know that the better the user experience, the better the advertiser, the better the engagement between the tenants. People get hooked on the app, right? And there's always a copycat, right? Burger King, McDonald's, TikTok, Instagram. It doesn't mean that there's not space for 100 of them, right? But it happens to be that the people on Real Estate Profit Boost, Gabe, he's the first one to market. Good job. So that's what this is about. And it's about execution, right? I can't tell you how many people I'll sit in a room. I'm not telling anybody the idea. And I laugh, right? Gabe's not afraid to tell you the idea publicly, right? On a podcast.
On the contrary,
Yeah,
telling the ideas for anyone.
Right. So that's the joke. So I just want you to know, people, if you're one of those people sitting there, I can't tell my idea. Here's what I've been told. Every time you have an idea, 3,000 other people in the world have that idea. Here's what happens. One still keeps talking about the idea and maybe
The
does
other
some
one
homework.
makes it.
Right. The other one tries, completely fails, and one makes it and changes the world. That's it. So call it Steve Jobs, call it freaking Apple, call it Microsoft, right? Is a copy of, that whole story. So I'll finish with two questions, right? So number one, what advice would you give the next founder or investor who's trying to solve a massive problem in real estate like you did? Reflect on this journey. What advice, if there's another person who's got something they're trying to solve in real estate massively?
I think that the first thing that I would advise is to make sure that your problem is big enough and it's painful enough. Because if it's not going to fly. If you're trying to solve, if you just want to sell another piece of something as a replica, it's great. But are you really solving a problem?
Love it.
Okay, so you got to be big enough. And the second thing is that you have to immediately execute. You gotta go and do, and you will fail, and you will make mistakes, and you will lose money, and you will do a lot of things going to happen. Every day is going to be a challenge, but you got to be out there playing the game. Because if you're not on the court, you are not there.
Right.
I will be any entrepreneur that is out there that I advise to, that I speak to. I can tell you, I won't even tell you the number of failures that I had in my life. But every failure was the right path for me to learn from.
No, I get it. Listen, you know how many times I'll ask a question, and just speaking at a university, what's the purpose of business, right? What do they say? Make money. 99% instinct. Gabe didn't say that, guys. I said, how would you launch a huge company, anything you want? You know what he said? Make sure you're solving a problem that has enough pain, right? That, folks, is pure entrepreneurship. That's what it is. That's the purpose of capitalism to some degree. Because if you solve a problem, homelessness, I mean, that's got a huge pain. But there's others, small, big, this, but that's the purpose. And that's why it works. And number two, you said it, like it's like everything I teach on my Instagrams, on my mindsets, right? If you don't execute, and listen, we learned it's not, if you think you're going to go out and have a perfect plan and spend time, strategies, this, that, and perfection, is no way. You learn on the field of battle. And if you're not on the battlefield and you're in the sidelines, there's no point, right? And it's execution. And that's what I've seen. People can find a solution to the biggest problems with the biggest pain, but they don't get on the court, right? They're still, I love how you said that. They're in the stands. What kind of language do we hear in the stands, Gabe? Shoot the ball.
Yeah, shoot the ball. Wrong call.
Yeah, you coach, you suck. Hey, right? Like, what are you doing? Throwing it the wrong way.
Sitting on the sidelines is the easiest thing. It's the easiest thing ever. Right. You get your beer. You know, when the game is over, you out running to your Corolla, driving into the sunset, right?
Right.
But you're not making any change.
Right.
You're not making an impact. You want to make an impact. You're here on the face of the earth, right?
There you go.
Connected to God. God has put you here for a reason. And that reason, you're the only one who can figure out what the reason is. And it's not about smoking cigars. And nothing wrong about smoking cigars. It's not about having a beer. It's not about that. Or watching a series on Netflix. It's about a mission that you're here to make an impact, make a change, help people, make sure that your message resonates with so many people out there that it can actually make a change.
Love it. And this right here in my hand, which is the number one piece of real estate in the world, right there on the front, allows anyone to do it. You could be 6 years old in the Philippines, right? So listen, that was a great way to end it, right? With the execution and the solution. You and I are very, very aligned. And the only reason we're aligned is we never gave up. We went through so much freaking pain, and very similar. We believe in the universe and we believe in God. And it's so simple. Like now that I'm in my 50s, right? I'm in my 50s and I look back, it's all been written before, right? And that's why people choose to faith, right? Because it's the book that kind of taught us all the lessons thousands of years ago, right? Right?
We just have to listen.
You just got to listen. And that's the problem. But the quickest way to learn is get on the field of battle. right? And every single time, whether you're reading a biblical or Old Testament or New Testament story, you'll find that every battle learns to the next level, right? You had to go through the pain to get to the top. So I love the way they ended it. Gabe, now I know you're because I always leave my podcast with, what's the one thing I could do to help you to be
Okay.
on this mission, right? To help all these things, the homelessness, everything.
The number one thing is to have as many businesses, advertising agencies know about this solution and the purpose advertising that we offer, that we
Got it.
put on the market to make sure that people have a roof over their head always. That is the first and the number one we need.
Their base, you're looking right at them. My client base is 3,500 clients with multi-5, right? Like they're all, when I say something, they're like, wow, right? So listen, Real Estate Profit Boost, we have about 1,750 subscribers today. Our average watch times are in the 25, 28, 32 minutes, depending on it. What does that tell me? I'm not Kim Kardashian. I don't need that virality. Our avatar, our user, is high net worth commercial real estate investors, beginners, people want to get into space, wealth advisors. We have family offices listening. I can name them. Every one of you have reach, right? Number one, Real Estate Profit Boost could change a lot of things you do, because you can meet a guy like Gabe. Gabe, where is the easiest place for anything that we spoke about today, besides the description right below this on YouTube? But for those listening on Spotify, tell them where they can get a hold of you, where they can find you.
Best place
way.
obviously is on LinkedIn. Just go Gabe Barr and LinkedIn Gabe Barr, and I'm right there in the end. You'll be able to get some of these amazing podcasts. By the way, I didn't say how privileged I am to speak on your podcast, and so apologies for that. This is great. So yeah, reach me on LinkedIn, or reach me just send me an email, gabe@bebelong.life. It's BEBELONG.life. And then just either way, just feel free to reach out. Anyone on the BeBelong, go on the website, just get we're there. There's a big team waiting for you to call.
So just to be clear, his name is Gabe Barr, GABEBAR. On LinkedIn, he's there. He's got a massive following. You'll see his history and everything that. And Gain, RENTGAIN.
Right.
Rent Gain, like you
gain rent. RentGain.ai. That is the website. If you want to go on the App Store, just go Rent Gain, 2 words, RENT. As Jerry was saying, GAIN as in Nancy. Rent Gain.
Gain rent.
The app. Was it?
Gain some rent, right?
Yeah. Just gain your rent. That's exactly what we came up with that. It's exactly that.
Pretty simple. And then the last one is BeBelong.life. You'll find it. It's all in the description below. This is another edition of Real Estate Profit Boost, where we teach you, right? Not, just the little secrets, the mindsets. That's why I love this, right? The players that are changing the world, the industry, the NOI, and the impact. And by the way, as I always say, I only bring people with values, integrity, and the right cause on this show. That's another edition of Real Estate Profit Boost. Share it, subscribe it, create a community that loves to create win-win situations. Boom. Thanks, Gabe.